In this episode of The History Of, we'll be taking a look at farming in the Diablo series. Farming in Diablo 2 is the baseline for most modern ARPGs. Teleport to an area in the world, progress through that area, kill rares or bosses, and collect your loot. This simple loop is so effective that you can find tons of videos of people farming the same boss thousands and thousands of times. Why? Let's take a look. The core of Diablo 2 is built on finding valuable items. It has a massive pool of over 500 unique and set items for the player to collect. These items are tradable and aren't locked to your class, meaning any valuable item is exciting to find because if you can't use it, you can trade it. The main way to obtain items in Diablo 2 is by doing runs in the world. Most of them are iconic and you've probably heard of them, with some being named after rares or bosses like Pindleskin or Mephisto, while others are named after the area that you clear, like Chaos Sanctuary. They're constant in the world. Even if you're not a great Diablo 2 player, just by completing the campaign at least once, you should be able to recognize most of the names and locations. Does the item system and the way to farm it work well in Diablo 2? Let's make a list of pros and cons. To start, each run feels distinct. If you're farming Mephisto and you do 10 or so runs and you get bored of it, you can swap to farming Chaos Sanctuary and get a completely different experience. Each run is semi-randomized, meaning that although the levels look the same, the layouts are normally different between runs. They do adhere to some strict rule set for generating the levels, so over time you can get better at understanding the layouts, but it's never just the exact same thing over and over. The rewards you get from doing these runs are tradable, allowing for a larger pool of high-value items to drop. Because you're not locked into the item that you drop, you can take it and trade it for the item that you actually want. Let's take a look at the cons now. Honestly, it's pretty repetitive. I don't think the average player does want to run the same boss 1,000 times. It's also difficult to balance for all classes. Depending on what character you pick, you might not be able to run the most optimal strats, making you feel left out. And finally, if you don't want to trade, it's actually very hard to farm for the specific item that you want. To sum it up, Diablo 2's farming set the stage. Tons of items, immersive semi-randomized layouts, and tradable rewards. Let's take a look at Diablo 3 now. Farming in Diablo 3 is a modern take on the genre. It introduces the concept of rifts. Open a rift portal, progress through multiple floors, kill rares and a boss, and collect your loot. Although it sounds similar to Diablo 2, it's not. Why? Let's take a look. Diablo 3 introduces the concept of smart loot. Items drop based on what class you're currently playing, and this means that even though Diablo 3 has a comparable amount of unique and set items to Diablo 2, the drop pool is significantly lower, because you mostly see items for your class. If you want an experience collecting all of the items in the game, you will need to play every class. The main way you obtain items in Diablo 3 is through rifts. These dungeons are made up of multiple floors with random tile sets and layouts. By killing enemies and collecting progress orbs, you fill a bar on screen. Once it's full, a rift boss is summoned, and killing it will complete the rift. How does Diablo 3 do? Let's go back to our pros and cons. To start, it's very easy to approach. Boot up D3, complete a few rifts, and log off. That's it. Collecting full sets of items is also very easy without having to trade for them because of smart loot. Balance is also much better between classes because rifts are the main source of endgame content, and rifts aren't varied. Moving over to cons, we're going to see a familiar face. It's once again very repetitive, especially now that rifts are the main endgame that you'll see, and the content isn't varied. Diablo 3 also loses its sense of immersion. When you open a rift, it's just a portal in town. The floors are just random tile sets that have no relation to locations in the world, and the bosses aren't act bosses. It just feels off. Although smart loot allows for easier target farming, it also means that you're going to see a smaller drop pool of items, since you'll only be seeing items relevant to your class. Diablo 3's farming attempts to improve on the concept: less items in the drop pool, but more items relevant to your class, a single type of randomized layout, and non-tradable rewards. Let's move on to Diablo 4 now. farming in Diablo 4 attempts to fuse mechanics from both Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Nightmare dungeons are immersive, similar to runs from Diablo 2. You're likely to clear a few of them as normal dungeons during the campaign or while leveling. However, they're also similar to rifts from Diablo 3 in that they have multiple sections with objectives like collecting orbs or killing rares. Diablo 4 continues with smart loot, but reintroduces tradable items. Although uniques and legendaries are account-bound, rares can be traded, bringing back some form of economy to the game. Diablo 4 is the latest installment, and with it comes the smallest pool of items. Hopefully that will grow over time. Smart loot restricts that total even more though, making it likely that you'll see almost every single unique by the end of a season for your class. The main way to obtain items in Diablo 4 is through Nightmare dungeons. These dungeons are a single floor with multiple sections. Each section has an objective that you are required to clear before progressing, and once cleared, you're rewarded with extra loot. Let's go back to our pros and cons now. Similar to Diablo 2, Nightmare dungeon farming feels distinct. Each dungeon has a set feel, and it's related to its location in the world. Similar to Diablo 3 though, it's also very approachable. You can jump into Diablo 4, complete a few Nightmare dungeons, and jump out. Because Diablo 4 continues with smart loot, it's once again very easy to collect full sets of items. And finally, because Nightmare dungeons are the main source of endgame content, it's once again very easy to balance per class. Let's move on to cons now. Legendaries are designed to be dropped often, but with varied roles. This means you're constantly seeing the same items drop over and over again, hoping for a decent roll instead of waiting for a decent item. Rares have the opposite problem, where you're constantly picking up rare items that are useless for your character until you find the exact item that you want. Once again, because of smart loot, there's a smaller drop pool of items, since you'll mostly only see items relevant to your class. This is especially so with Diablo 4 because it's just starting out as a game and there aren't a lot of items yet. Diablo 4's farming is an attempt at the best of both worlds. Less items in the drop pool but more items relevant to your class, multiple types of semi-randomized layouts, non-tradable and tradable rewards. They're trying to do it all. Obviously each of these games has a lot of depth to it that I didn't cover in this video today. You could see that maybe in future videos depending on how much you guys like this one, so like, subscribe, comment, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I will catch you guys in the next one.